local swimming pool. They had like all these different slides, and it was awesome. It was just it wasn't
Looks
scared.
like cool.
Yeah, it wasn't scared about going on any of the slides or anything, which was good.
How old is he?
Free.
Oh wow.
Um, so yeah, it was good. First time we'd been on anything like that, and he just went down it. And I was like, oh, fantastic. Because usually you expect him to be a bit scared and want the hand holding, but yeah, he just didn't care. I was like, yes, let's have fun. And
He's like, this is cool, Dad.
that's it. Mummy wasn't there to panic or whatever, so yeah, it was all good.
Are you presenting your screen?
I am not yet. No, I didn't
Okay.
realise I wasn't, but I've not started anything yet. Anyway. Test project. Alright, I'll share it now. So if I go share screen, entire screen, this one. Can you see it?
I see something coming up. Yep, I see it.
Cool. So I'm just going to create a project in here.
So you're using cursor?
Yeah. So I use cursor most of the time. There's quite a few different sort of programs like it. I don't know how much you keep up to it. There's like Windsurf and a few others.
Okay.
Are all IDE based, and some think that the Windsurf is better because it's got a bit better agentic capabilities. So it can do more. So you can just write in a prompt and just say do this, and it'll go off and create an whole app. But sometimes I think that they try to do too much at the moment, and the models aren't quite there yet for some things, and I still like to build them up piece by piece. So I don't know. Have you used Cursor for a while, or is it something you've never? What programming language are you programming?
I just generally use VS Code.
VS Code. Yeah. So
Yeah.
so
We
yeah,
have.
GitHub Copilot is it you use?
Yeah, we at work we have a license for that, and so I'm really like totally beginning. Like I got GitHub Copilot enabled, and kind of the stuff that a lot of stuff I do at work is like writing YAML pipelines,
Yeah.
and like it was more. I felt like GitHub. In the past, I've done a lot of software engineering where I'm writing like C# and stuff, and so it probably could be maybe more helpful. But I found it just more annoying. So like that's part of my thing. I want to just learn how to like work with the tools better versus like trying to fight against them.
Yeah.
Um, I felt like it would make suggestions like I felt like it kind of was interrupting my train of thought. Like I'm kind of thinking through things or whatever, and it keeps suggesting crap to me. I'm just like, don't know. But
Yeah.
like maybe it's just a part of like my just resistance to it or whatever. And I think it's should be more of like a pair programming experience where like I'm, yeah.
Yeah. That's exactly what it is. Yeah. So in here you've got all these different sort of modes that you've got. So you've got agent, which means it's got tool calling abilities. And that's something that's changed in Cursor quite a bit, that they do a hell of a lot of tool calls. So even when it's just selecting text inside the code base, it'll use grep to select the right elements or the right lines.
Oh, cool.
So it won't just read everything. It uses an index to understand what your project's all about, and then it'll write sort of semantic search and a few other sort of techniques. I don't know everything that's in there, but it uses that sort of Riker sort of framework, retrieval, augment, generation. and then it'll use that to work out which bit of the text it needs and where it's located, grep it or whatever it needs to do to it, and then put that into context for then further generation down the line. So there's a lot of sort of work that it does that could go wrong in that procedure, especially on large code bases. So sometimes you do need to put in the code that you're working on to point it in the right direction. But I'll go through these options first, because you got like Agent, which is a bit more automated. You just type in a prompt and say, write me a basic fast HTML. I'll use this just because I know we were talking about it the other day.
Oh yeah, cool.
And then it'll just go off and do it. And I'm using Sonnet here because Sonnet's got it in its awaits, and I've got an MCP that's got the fast HTML documentation.
Okay.
So
I saw that.
It's doing the call tool in to call that to get that information to know how to build a fast HTML, and then you can just say run tool. Just so.
What's MCP?
Model context. So.
Okay.
Protocol.
Well, that's right. I think I saw that on fast HTML. Like it showed you how to like add like a LLM.txt. Is that kind of what that is?
No, that's different. So.
Okay.
Model context protocol is. This is really useful. Here we go. So it's a way to encapsulate code or a sort of library, and you can either install it locally or you can install it on a remote server. So have I got an example of what I've done? Let me have a look. Let's see if we've got a Python example, and then I'll be able to explain it a bit better. Yeah, so this will help understand it. To import it, you create a server, and then you create a tool. So this description here is what activates this function.
Okay.
So if I added this MCP tool to here, and I said in this text box, can you add two numbers together? It would run that tool because it would say the description of it is add. Hold on, my power's not plugged in. And it would run that tool because that's the description of what it says it's doing.
Okay.
So the beauty of MCP, you used to be able to do that just with tool calls, but what they've done is then packaged it in so you can use those tools across multiple applications. So rather than integrating the code into every application you've got, which takes time, you can just create a server that's hosted somewhere that you then can add to any application. So if I wanted this in Cursor, I just add it in here. Then I say if I did, I don't know, another app with Google CLI or whatever, or if I built another chatbot or some other sort of UI user interface, you could just add it into that as well. And it just means you can reuse a lot of the sort of tools you've done. So what that means is that a lot of people have now created MCPs that you can just plug into, and you can get value from what they've done to connect to external data source. So it's model context protocol. So it's how you provide context to models, and that's just by adding information. So if you've got a back-end system that you've got like an ERP system or some information system, you can create an MCP for that, and then you can create an SQL query or whatever that queries a database, does something with that information, and then passes that to the LLM, and then you can add it to your add it to your sort of various different systems. So the one that they've done is they've done this fast HTML documentation, and that's going out and it's calling this, and it's found one page.
Okay.
It's not a great example of it. I'll show you in a bit the actual playwright. This one's great. So this actually controls your browser, and it can read various different parts of your browser. So if you're doing some web development, it can understand the console messages and all that kind of stuff, and it can do all sorts of different things. So you can have that full loop then when you're doing designing. So you can get it just to sort of go out and just design a web page. It'll understand whether the web page works right. If it doesn't work right, then it'll just go ahead and just keep going until it's got it right in that loop. So I've done MCPs at work for a chatbot where it goes off, does some RAG based on some PDF documents at work, and then it also goes off and does some searching within the ERP system, and then they're all separate MCPs, and then I'm able to just add that to something else if I need to. So here we go, got a page. That's what the agent side does.
Bam.
And it's still going. Boom.
What's all this that it's... Oh, okay. Oh, it's giving you documentation on how to use it.
Yeah. So this is all this bit here is all the sort of this is gathering information.
Okay.
And then it's gathered all this information, and it's saying, right, okay, now we need to sort of design it, and then this is how it's designing it.
That's pretty awesome.
So then you can go through the different files it's created. So it's created requirements.txt, and then it's also created a README as well. And then you can accept or reject them. So you don't even have to accept at this point. You can say something's still wrong in here, so you can just keep on typing and sort of change it, and until you say accept. So if you've got a large code base and you've told it to go off and do something, it's not going to change everything and destroy all your code. You can go in here and have a look at what it's done, and then only accept it. And if you want to, you can come in here and just change something. So I don't know, whatever, change whatever lines of code you want.
Yeah. Gotcha.
Where it didn't used to do that. Say a year ago, it was annoying because you couldn't go back easily without risk of it totally destroying all your work. So this is where it's improved a lot in the last year.
I would probably that maybe in the old times I would have made like a branch or something and then tried it and see if it was, look at all the diffs, see if I agree and then accept it or something.
That's it. Yeah.
And then you could just delete the branch if it was garbage.
Well, that's it. Yeah. But then you got all the hassle, haven't you? Just moving it all across, and the flow's not there, and it just gets a bit annoying. You're like, well, I might as well just design it myself because it's more effort.
Gotcha.
But yeah, the flow is getting so much better. The models are getting better, and I can see where people say this agentic style of coding is where it's at. But I don't think it's quite there yet. There's a lot of stuff that happens in there that you just I don't know. You still need to keep an eye on it because it just screw things up and change things. Yeah, so let's just accept that. So we've accepted all.
I saw some video where I can't remember what they built, but he was kind of a anti-agentic or whatever. But he's like, I'll try it and I'll do this sample project, and he just was basically told it what to do and did no coding. kind of let it do what he was able to do that. So I think that's kind of turned him into a believer that it's worthwhile. You just have to know how to kind of guide it, and it can build it for you, basically.
That's it. Yeah, you think, oh, what the hell is my job's about now?
Like, I say though, like, people say that, I'm like, my job is, I feel like my job is never, well, maybe partially hasn't been about the coding part. Like that part goes like pretty fast. Like most of my time is spent like understanding the problem and figuring out what to actually do. And then once I have a good understanding of that, like the coding doesn't normally take super long. Like it could spend like 2 weeks trying to figure out what you do, and then like once you do, like, you know, you'd spend like 4 hours coding or something.
Yeah. That's where the Solve It course came in, because they show you how to sort of chat to chatbots and sort of create stuff. I'll go through some of that stuff as well, because that stuff's quite interesting. But yeah, so that's that one. So you can just do that. You can restore from checkpoints as well, so you can go back to previous versions of your code.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. It's just, the improvements of this is just crazy. If you use Sonnet as well as Claude Opus,
Claude Opus.
Yeah, it's great. So like the ones that say max mean you don't get it free with your $20 a month credit, so you've got to pay extra. You just put your credit card in.
Okay.
But it just uses a larger context, and it just it's just way better, but it just costs a fortune.
How much do you pay like a month for tools, like your personal? What do you get through work?
I get a couple through work, but I pay a couple myself. I've got Cursor. That's through work. I've got Google, which I get personally, because I'd shared space before. You know, I used to buy those sort of bit of storage space and a few other bits that I used to get from Google. And they said, "Oh, why don't you upgrade to Gemini?" This is free trial, 3 months. So I said, "Yeah." And then I'm like, "Okay, this is all right, but no, I don't want to pay this much money. I'd rather go back to my one fee that I was paying before." And then now you can't do that. I was like, "Damn it!" So yeah, so they've tricked me into like upgrading my storage. I've just never got around to sort of getting rid of
I got kind of like pushed into like finally paying for storage with Google, and then I was like, I've had Google Fi for a while.
Yeah.
And like I pay like $25 a month. They're like, "Oh, this deal, like get someone on your line, you know." And so like I got my wife on there, and now my individual, like with us both, like my bill is higher. Like, god damn you guys.
I know. They are the sneaky Google, aren't they?
They're like just like a few dollars or whatever. Like I'm sure we get like a lot of free benefit from Google, you know.
Yeah. Well, they get all the money from advertisement, don't they? But
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Just
Funny.
I was a bit pissed off when it happened. I was like, but then I was just so busy, I just never had a chance to sort of get rid of it. I'm still paying it.
Do you pay for OpenAI?
I do, yeah. That's the only one. I think the OpenAI one's good because I like their voice. And
do you have like the pro version or?
No. Pro version's like $200 a month or something.
Okay. That's what I was looking. I was looking at Codex, and I think it said you had to have Pro or something, maybe.
No. Codex you don't. No. Codex, you just need the $20 a month.
$20 a month?
Yeah. I don't know how much it is, but I probably wouldn't do it for that amount. Yeah, I've still got it. I've got it on the screen there. I can show you. So, Codex here. You can just add stuff. It creates a little environment online for you.
Okay. Do you think this is similar to Cursor, or is this like their competitor, or is it kind of different?
Kind of, yeah. So in Cursor,
Maybe cursor is more flexible.
Yeah, you've got the IDE. You can actually do all the editing. In that one, you can't do editing.
Okay.
But what they've got in cursor now is this background option, and that means that it just runs in the background. So it must spin up some sort of VM that the project runs in, or environment, and then it does the code editing from there. Because I think they've got to start it up to be able to check it, make sure it all works, and yeah.
There is. I wonder if there is like the. I haven't looked at too much at Codex, but I saw that they have a CLI. So I wonder if that's how people would use it. Like you could use it in like the terminal, like in VS Code, and have it like run commands, and then maybe do like polls to your repo.
So, alright, I thought I had this one installed. It's obviously not working. So I've got Gemini installed. Let's just install it now while we're doing this. But yeah, you can. Let's get this on screen so you can see. So you can get this Gemini installed, which is kind of the same thing.
Okay.
Where you can run it from a command line. This is all open source. Let's just run this then. So you can go in there, you can edit it, you can change it however you want to. And this will run in the command line, and you can do everything you can. Not everything, because I haven't got an IDE, but you can do all the sort of agentic work.
Looks like okay.
Yeah, and that's very similar. It'll take a while to install it, so we can go back to it later.
This reminds me of like Angular. You probably get like we're just using npm, I think.
Yeah, this is just the actual. I don't know why they use an npm for it. This is probably my lack of knowledge of sort of how npm works, but it's just a command interface. So I don't know why they need to install npm, but I'm thinking it's an environment within the terminal.
Yeah, it's like a JavaScript kind of like pip kind of thing.
Yeah, that's not worked. Why hasn't it worked?
You install all the Angular tools with npm, and then they can run like ng or whatever. This looks very kind of Angular like.
Yeah, let's see if we install it from the npx version. I don't know what differences it makes, but we'll go back to cursor anyway, and we'll go back to that.
Yeah, that's all right.
So you've got the other option where rather than just going off and doing stuff for you, you can just ask, and that's a bit like it was probably a year ago, and it'll just present all the code in this right-hand box.
Okay.
So it'll still give you all the stuff that you saw in the previous chat, which is this stuff, but it won't write any of these files for you. It'll just display everything in this little right box.
That's like the quote-unquote old school way that Jack was talking about.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but in a way that's kind of better because it slows you down.
Yeah.
Because sometimes
it's good, yeah, because you can read through it all, yeah.
That's it, and it makes sure you understand it before you actually just you end up with all this code on there that you haven't got a clue what it's doing, and then it's all alright until it doesn't work, and then you're like, I ain't got a clue. And then the LLM's just like, no, I can't help you anymore, and it just keeps changing stuff that you don't know what it does. And then you've got even like further, this is probably like where Jack's up to, where you just say manual, and that one it doesn't do any tool calls, there's no context you add unless you add context.
Oh, I see. Okay, so this is just like purely asking question.
Yeah, so the asking question asks questions, but asking question can go out and find information. Whereas
Okay,
manual is just using the model weights and whatever you type in here.
I gotcha.
And then the background is the one that we're talking about, which is, yeah, it just knows a lot more about the project. You know, the Git, it adds the whole project and it'll just go around and just do everything, not in this environment, but its own spin up environment, which is online somewhere. And that's what I was saying, you can go, you know, you can set that off going either on your phone or here, and then you can just go to the pub or wherever, you know, go for your cycle. You just done another. You just got off a jump on the after on your bike, and you're like, "Oh right, I've just got a pink for my background application." You can just say,
Like I live the rest of my life.
That's it. Shall I continue? Yeah, continue, and then you can go off and carry on your cycle or whatever. But I've seen a lot of people like have about 4 or 5 different background tasks, and they're all working on individual sort of tasks in the project. And it'll just be burning tokens, but they're like $200 a month for the Pro Edition, and then they'll just, you know, get 4x productivity or whatever, 10x productivity, because they just got these that many sort of things going off at once. And then I guess it comes down to like, how do you sort of integrate them all? How do you actually sort of make sure that it all works and everything's fine? That's sort of probably what the next job's going to be.
Sounds like you have like a lot of options. Like for OpenAI, you pay for that. Do you save? Would you get like your money's worth out of it? Do you get value out of it? Do you use it much?
Yeah, I use it not really for coding, just for general sort of information searching.
Okay.
And I use it for the voice side of things.
Okay.
Like my mum and dad's got some health conditions, and I've used it for that. I've used it for my own health conditions. You know, I've searched things up and sort of, you know, added things in there, and it's good for that kind of stuff.
So what's the voice thing? Like you can talk to it?
Yeah, I think we can get it up now.
So is that what you mean by voice? Just like
you chat to it, yeah.
You
have you not heard it for a while?
I don't use AI tools at all, so like I'm a complete dummy.
Right, okay, let's show you this then.
My old uncle was like, we were talking. I was at a family reunion like a few weeks ago, and we were talking about running shoes, and he's like he's putting into his Chat GPT app like on his phone. There's a bunch of like really old people that are like Chat GPT experts, and I'm like, what is this?
Yeah. You told them that you like did all this AI study, and they're like, you don't know what this is?
Like I'm building models.
Hello, it's lovely to meet you. If there's anything you need, please don't hesitate to let me know.
Oh, nice! What a nice voice.
Hello, can you tell me about gardening? I want to know how to get my lawn to grow quicker.
Thinking.
Go on, help me out.
Live demo.
Hey there. So if you want your lawn to grow a bit faster, a few things can help. First, make sure it's well watered, especially if it's been dry. Also, regular mowing. All right, here you go. Why did the scarecrow become a successful gardener? Because he was outstanding in his field.
It took me a second. I get it. That's good. It used the context. It used like a gardening joke. That's great.
Yeah. It's smart. I use that on my journeys to and from work, and it is amazing at that kind of stuff. Yeah, it just, if you've got 15-20 minutes you're driving, it's just wasted time. You know, you can just have a chat about something. And then
nice.
When you get to work, you've got all these sort of ideas, you know, whether it's personal life or something or whatever, you know, you just have a chat with it. I can see like all these, do you remember like there was like chat.com or something like that, one of the websites. It's like where all these people have AI girlfriends or boyfriends or whatever. It's mainly women, I'd say. They like sort of chatting to AIs apparently, and they'll just sit and chat to the AIs, and the service went down. And there was like Reddit apparently sort of like got flooded with all these people like threatening to commit suicide or like hate on chat.com just because their website went down. It was just like, wow, there's that many people relying on it.
So you could use like the chat on OpenAI like for like as like a therapist or something?
Yeah, that's what a lot of people do. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I can't remember the name of it. There's an app for it where someone's designed it, and apparently a lot of people are using it for a therapist. Yeah, it just loads of people because it's cheap. You do it. It's online 24 hours a day.
Nice.
Why would you not?
I'll try that. Maybe I'll invest in. I'll pay a subscription. That's why I have almost 0 subscriptions. I have the YouTube Premium. I think that's the only subscription I have.
Oh, I live in the dream. I've got too many. Yeah. Because even the ones that I've got Netflix as well. But I don't know if you include my dad's tech. But yeah, it's probably, it works out like 50 quid a month, 60 quid a month, maybe more. I'm spending on just subscriptions for various AI and sort of entertainment.
Cool.
Yeah, so for this one, have you seen this bit where you can add files to it? So this is why, do you know when Jack was saying he didn't like it because he just liked copying and pasting into sort of ChatGPT chat, and then he'll just put in the context to it when he needed to.
Mm-hmm.
What I think the problem with that is it just slows you down.
Yeah.
Because in here, what you can do is you can say, okay, I'll use the menus, but there's shortcut keys you can do. You can just highlight it, add to chat, and it adds just those lines. So the model knows to look just at those 2 lines.
Okay.
And I find context. It doesn't say that that's all it's going to use, but you've got it in there. And then if that one, okay, that's important as well. And because I've got it in manual, it will actually just only use those lines I've added and the whole of the app.py, but I can get rid of that and it'll just look at those lines now. So you know you're not polluting the context with unnecessary stuff. But if you went down to ask, it would use agent mode and it would say, okay, is there anything else in this project that's valid for whatever question I ask? So if I asked, what do the lines mean in the greater context? That should go out and search the whole sort of project and then tell you what it means in the whole sort of context. I don't know what this is going to bring back because I don't know if I've highlighted, but just to give you an idea of what you can do. Right, you're only going to have one chat going at once. Yeah, so I'll tell you what, I'm going to start because it's taking a while. What you can also do is you can add folders, code, so you can have code blocks. So if you've got particular code that you use often, especially if you've got a big project, like if you've got YAML files that you use often, example YAML files, you could have those in there. You could say
boilerplate, basically.
Exactly, yeah. Or
snippets.
Just saying, this is how I want a YAML file to look and feel. Use this as an example, and you could have 5 or 6 of those in there that you spend ages just taking your time creating, making sure it's perfect, and then you say, I want this, but in this other context, and then the model knows how you want it because it's got examples of how you've done it in the past.
Okay.
And it just means you can do this quicker because you don't have to just do that. You can go code, and then you can add code that way as well. it's not going to show you, but you can do at, you can do drop downs. Shortcut. I don't think I've got it on there because I haven't got no code snippets in there at the moment. If you go to docs, you can add docs on there. This is something that I use all the time. So I'll show you in here. So because it's a cursor fork, a VS fork, you've got all your VS settings, but you've also got cursor settings. So inside here, you've also got indexing and docs, and these are all the documentations that I've added. So what you can do is you can add a doc, you can paste in a website. So just because I've got Gemini open at the moment, I can just paste that in there and then enter. And that just puts GitHub page, and that's in there then. So if I wanted to know something about Gemini GitHub page, or let's say I want help with docs, and then Gemini GitHub page, and that page is now indexed. Not the page, but the whole site as well, the actual links to it.
Wow.
Tell me what it is about. And it'll also do, I think I had it selected on the agent mode to actually go off and do search as well, if it wants to, it feels it needs to. So it understands that. So I've got quite a few on there. So I've got cursor, so if I wanted to know about cursor, let's get rid of those. New chat. Let's get rid of that. Cursor shortcuts. Full text. And then that'll come back and just tell me from looking at that file what all the sort of shortcuts are. So it's a way that you can actually start developing without, if you're lazy, or maybe you've read the documentation before and you just want a reminder, you can just add in the doc files. But it'll read like normal web pages as well. So if you've got I don't know, well, what's documentation that you have to read all the time?
Documentation.
Because you use YAML files, don't you? What are you actually building?
Yeah, sure. Azure DevOps. You want to see what you're doing. Like this was kind of something I was trying to create myself. That's pretty cool. You can just put a URL, point it to documentation, and like this would be like Azure pipelines might be something.
Yeah, so Azure
put in there.
DevOps pipelines documentation. Right, so let's do this then. So I found the Azure.
Trying to find a source of documentation.
Confirm. Oops. So docs. Okay, so that's going ahead. So that should be the text.
Did you find a site?
Yeah, I found the Azure documentation. Yeah.
Cool.
It's not listed in there. Here we go. So that's already indexed. So I don't know what's the typical question. We'll see whether it's actually what is a Azure pipeline, and then docs, Azure docs. Oops. Yeah, I was right. Right, it's already got official. It's already got one in there.
For pipelines, nice. The official.
Yeah. So you didn't even need to add it; it was already in there.
Wow.
There we go. Yeah. So that speeds you up a lot, because then you can say, "Can you code me something from that as well?" So you can go in there. Can you code me this, please? I don't know, whatever you want to do. I don't know what to code.
Yeah.
You got the example, and then because you've
Yeah,
built the context, you can say, you can drill down and just find out more and more, build up that context, and then eventually you just say, okay, can you code that, and pass it to the, it passes it to the LLM, and it's able to do it based on what the latest documentation is, rather than just what the weights were a year ago or whenever it was trained.
Say it again.
Well, the weights.
Oh yeah, because
weights
the latest documentation. Okay.
Okay. Yeah. 2 seconds. I'm just going to close the door.
This could be. I've been.
All right, I'm back.
A lot of the stuff that recently I've done at work is trying to create, streamline a process of creating this thing called Azure Data Factory. We have to create all this infrastructure in a specific way that works with our company standards and security and stuff like that, and then also a deployment pipeline that could somehow point this to like examples of that, and then like for new things like change these values and have it automatically do it. I think there'd be some setup, but that would be an application I could think of for this.
Yeah. It is good. It's not perfect, because it does use RAG. It's built for efficiency rather than pure accuracy, but it's good, and it'll save you a hell of a lot of time. And it means you don't have to leave this sort of dev environment as well.
After that Andrew Ng talk, I kept on I was thinking of all these cool app ideas. I'm like, that's why I have to learn how to do this AI coding. I think that's kind of what his point was what he was saying was he does I don't know, he's I do 15 prototypes a week or something. Where he's he generates these new app ideas kind of almost automatically, where kind of describes what he wants or whatever and builds. I don't know if it's 15, but he was doing a few a week.
Yeah. You just at a moment at work, I just fire something up if I want something and just stick a UI in it, just to do.
With that,
if I'm doing something at work, I used to just sort of use, I don't know, SQL and sort of look at the SQL queries, and but now I just, because it's that quick to sort of just mock up something, I create something that's lives forever, that I can just do for one particular task. Whereas before it wouldn't be economically productive to do that, and now I can just do it just as a tool for me to be more efficient, or to.
Nice.
Whereas doing it before, you'd have to write all the code. It just takes too long. So that is one of those things where you don't have to sort of spend a long time understanding the problem. You just the bit that took the most time was actually just writing the actual code. Where you can just get an agent to do it these days, and it does it quite well. So where do we get to? To this docs. Git, so you can look at different. I've not got any Gits on there at the moment, but you can look at the difference between different sites, between two different sort of versions, which is incredibly useful. You can look at the past chats, and you can reference them. You can actually do a summarization of the past chats as well. Where do you do that?
is asking me to summarize. Okay.
Okay. Yeah, so it's not access. What it's had access to, which is quite interesting, is just the cursor rules. So that's the other thing that I've not touched on. So you've got in here, you can add rules, and these are rules for a particular project or a particular area that you're working with in software. So if I go to File, cursor settings, and then go to rules, this is something that's applied to every project that I do. So rather than using pip, I always use UV now, and it just tells the model UV. So it's an alternative to pip.
Okay.
And it's just way better and faster. And then for any logging, I always use logroot now, just because I think it's better. And I always apply doc strings to functions, and it just means that whenever the model creates any code for me, it follows these instructions for any project that I'm doing.
Nice.
What you're able to do though is apply rules for certain elements. So if you've got a rule for a particular project, you can add rules in here. Add I don't know, fast HTML. And then you just describe what the rule is. Make each line I don't know what will be a good rule for this. I don't know. Tell you what, to generate this, what we can do is we can do it another way. So you could add something on there. You could always use it'll just do that every time then, which it does do it every time anyway, but you can just be explicit, and then you can either make sure that it runs every time, so always agent requested. I think that'll just pop up in the sort of right bar. Do you want to use this? Or you can use manual, which means you've got to sort of tag it here. And you can just add it there. Yeah, so the other thing as well is the terminals. So if you've got some error logs in here, like this one here, you can add that in there. You can say, why am I getting this error? And it will be able to read this terminal, everything
Wow.
in there. So it just saves you copying and pasting from various different locations. So I've used it when if I've been doing some web development. See, I'll use the Playwright app. Run the app.py and tell me if it's working. It can be explicit. Apply. Playwright MCP server. So one, it can see what's happening in the terminal, and then the second thing is it can actually control your browser. So you can see there that's the tool that's used, which is just to list all the folders in the directory. And then that's gone back to the model, pumped that information in there, and then it's doing its next second of analysis. Okay, what do I need next? You can see the thought process here. And then it's saying, okay, I need to run this, but I need to check because it's a bit dodgy. Could be running anything. I don't know whether that's worked. I'll just run it manually for a minute. For some reason it's not worked. Oh, right, that's why. So this is just adding the libraries required. So it's hyphen fast HTML. So it started up now. It had trouble starting up, so you can do that a bit manually, and then you can just say, okay, run this term browser. So that started up the browser.
Oh wow.
What port is it running on? 5001. So okay, so it's recognised as port 5001 now. So it's done a loop in the model again. Oh right, it's picking up the actual app that I've been developing on. It must still be running under one of the other sort of terminals. But you get the idea. It just can just go through and just search for, and it can read all the DOM. It can read everything within the actual, and then that can feed back the context back into the model. So you're getting this nice loop of information from everywhere that you can see, but plus you can see more what's going off. Because most of the time, efficiently, you can't really analyse all that information quickly, whereas the model can just go off and just do it unsupervised and collect all this information and present it to you, and then you can make a decision, or if you trust it, you can just say do it. And that's why people are getting all these agents up there, just changes to background agents, just because it's got all this new ability to sort of collect all this information from various different sources, check whether it's worked, and then just keep building for you. Not always successful at the moment, but it's getting close. And I guess your idea as a sort of human is just to sort of make sure that it's doing what the user wants it to do. Okay, what else we got? Lint errors, terminal we've done, search the web. You just, if you want to force it to do a web search, you can do that. You can use that. Just type in web and whatever your query is. What's the weather like in Sheffield? I'll just go out to the internet. It's right, it's raining.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so you can see how many different things there are, can't you, with this? It's just...
Yeah. That was, like, I didn't realize the like all the sources that I could take, like that I could read the terminal. It's pretty cool.
And yeah, the terminal, like the MCP bit is just amazing. That's what this playwright thing is. And there's a whole sort of set of people at the moment that are just building MCPs. So that's just one MCP there. Like, I don't even like those. I'm just going to disable them. In fact, I'm going to get rid of them.
I feel like I've used Playwright before. I don't know if it was like I was deploying apps to Azure.
Yeah, maybe.
I don't know if
Playwrights. I think it's. Isn't it like a web scraping tool?
I have to look that up.
I think it's a web scraping tool, but I think someone's just developed it rather than just pure web scraping, just to get information back to an agent so it can actually help you build a website. But they can get a screenshot just by using the actual browser technology, so it doesn't actually take a screenshot of your page, it just takes a screenshot within that execution of the code, which is a bit.
So it loads like its own like browser or whatever and takes a screenshot without actually launching it.
It does launch it, but it doesn't take a screenshot. It doesn't have to be active, on your screen. It can just do it in the background.
Okay, yeah. I think I'm gonna go look through some of this stuff. I think this is probably a good start for me, like what you've shown me so far.
Yeah, it's definitely worth learning in some way. Everyone's saying use the CLI these days, for models. And I can see that probably the future direction is to use the CLI, but I still think you need some sort of code editing. Human input to actually change things at the moment.
So use the CLI like Gemini or OpenAI, is that what you mean?
Yeah, so Claude's got one as well, and then Google's got one where you can just program just from the CLI, just from the command line.
I would like that, actually.
Yeah, the benefit, the reason why I've started using Google is just because it's got 1 million context. So what I used to do, if it within here, you've got all the libraries. So this is using UV. It creates this virtual environment, and inside here, you've got all the libraries that you need. So if I'm working in a project, sometimes I'll get stuck because the LLM's a bit stupid, and I'd want to know how something works. So I'd go into, say, let's go to fast call. Maybe not fast call, maybe this one. And then I'd go into the core, and I can get to the root of information. And there's a lot of information in here. Some of the libraries are absolutely massive, and Cursor's just context isn't big enough, and you have to pay for it. Whereas Google, you can get up to 1 million contexts. So that one's only 120k context window. Whereas if you use Google CLI, you could just say, right click, copy path, and you could say, pretend this is what I'm in at the moment, it's Google CLI. You could say, investigate this library and tell me what it does. And it'll read everything in the library and tell you what it does. Or you can say, create me some documentation for this library, or I don't know, anything that you want to know about the library. What are the whatever problem you've hit, you could say, am I likely to have this problem? So you give it the snippet of the code that you've been working on, and also the actual full library that you're working on, and then it's able to understand everything about that library, rather than using RAG and the bits to understand it. You just pass all the context to Google.
Was that like the Gemini CLI?
That's it, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So before I used the what's it called? The online one. They've got a AI Studio. I don't know if you've seen it.
Probably not.
This thing here.
Okay.
And you can upload up to a gig on here, and you can get, it's got your token size at the top right up here. And you can do it that way, but too many clicks sometimes. Sometimes you just want a CLI within the environment you're working here. So you're working in Cursor, you're doing most of your code editing here, you're doing most of the stuff through Cursor, but then when you hit a problem where the context is too big and you're trying to debug or do something, a bit on the edge cases, that's when you can use a Google CLI to do it. But a lot of people rave about Claude CLI just being far better than Cursor, just at the agentic work. So they use Cursor down in the terminal down here, the CLI version, and then if they need to do any editing, they just open the files up as it's being created and then do whatever they're editing they need to do in here. So you get the best of both worlds.
You have a subscription to, is that Anthropic or?
Yeah, I don't have a subscription to that. I've held back on that one. to get the Opus model, which I think is where the main benefit is, it's like 200 quid, 100 quid a month or something, so it's a bit expensive for me. If I was making money, I was doing client project work and all that kind of stuff, and I'd, to get something out there and it was all time dependent and, it was always saving me time or whatever, then I'd do it. But I think at the moment this works for me for the amount of time I get to work on the type of stuff that I need to for that. But yeah, I wouldn't have any problem in doing it, if I change position and there's more sort of need for it. But I get everything I need to with the Cursor, just using their licensing. I'm not working on massive projects at the moment, so. But, yeah.
You could just use like VS Code in one of these CLIs versus using Cursor.
Yeah, that's another option. Yeah. I suppose with Visual Studio Code, you don't get.
You don't get the extra. Okay.
Yeah, but if you've got $100 to spend, that might not be a bad way to go. If you're using it quite frequently, just use Cursor CLI and develop that way. But I think there's a lot of features within Cursor that are useful.
Okay. There's a Cursor CLI too. Okay.
Yeah, and there's within Cursor you can also use their Cursor tab, which is very good. So if you're making changes in here, it'll tell you. It's not telling me at the moment, but if I start writing here.
Oh yeah.
And this is Cursor's own model. So you just tab. And a lot of people just say they just write software using the Cursor tab, so they won't even use any of this agentic stuff on the right side. They'll just use, start writing code the old-fashioned way, and then they'll just use.
It's like GitHub Copilot almost, or.
Exactly, but on steroids, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's supposed to be better. I've not used GitHub for a while, so I can't really say how much better it is. But the other thing as well about Cursor, I think you can do this in Visual Studio Code as well. If you right click, in fact I can't remember the actual, but if you press Control K, you can just edit just that line in line. So rather than going over to this chat window on the right hand side, you can just say, I don't know, add some extra information. Accept it. So it just means rather than using something that's editing everything and taking a wider context, if you just want to do a one-line change and you can't think what to do, then you can start developing that way, just doing it in line. I found that quite useful when you're doing stuff like pandas type work where you just want to change one line at a time. As the information's flowing through. So I suppose it's a bit like using Azure data factories. You pass in data through that, and you just want to do amendments as the data's transferring through each process. Is there anything else that'd be useful? I think that's it. I can keep going on, but the cursor settings might be quite a good one to go through. It's got all the screenboard shortcuts. You've got various different options for how it behaves. Cursor tab. That's that bit that I was just showing you about, where it actually goes through and sort of offers stuff. You've got models, so you can add your own models in here, and you can disable models. You can add your own API keys as well. So if you've got a company that don't like sending data to a cursor, you can add your own Azure entry in there, or your own Google API key, or whatever. That's a new one, AWS Bedrock they've added in. Rules we went through, indexing document we went through, so that's indexing your whole code base settings, and then this is in docs. Background agents, not really done that much with that. MCPs we've gone through. Network, no idea what this is. Just corporate stuff. And then this is just where they put all the new stuff in. Yeah, that's it, mate.
It gave me a lot of stuff to look at. Thanks for the inspiration.
No, it's useful.
I have to go down a rabbit hole.
That's it, yeah. Sorry, go on.
I think what I want to probably do is I'm kind of interested in these CLIs. I think that's probably what I'll look at. And maybe I'll try to actually use Cursor, but I'd like to check out like Cloud CLI, Gemini CLI, and Cursor CLI, and also the OpenAI Codex CLI. I think that might be like a path for me.
Yeah. I think the sort of main thing for it is just how do you build up the context that you want to feed into the model, and that's the way you've got to look at all these, whether it's a CLI or whether it's the Cursor, or what are the alternatives, and it takes a while to sort of build up that context for the models to learn how you're coding.
Okay.
Because if you're designing a particular application, you'll probably want to write code in a certain way or use certain libraries, and the model won't always know that. So you've got to tell it how to behave, and so that's where I think the future is. And if you start building that information up now, it's going to make life easier later on, whether it's something that's project specific or whether it's just generalizations, how you sort of write code. Because as models get better, they're going to get better at following those instructions, and the hope is that you won't have to touch it, and it'll design it how you want to design it, because it's looked at your projects, your sort of way of working.
Okay. I saw something like along those lines. My wife or whatever, she was asking me an AI question, but there's this. I don't exactly understand what they were talking about, but like maybe how you do research, like how they do their research or whatever. Like this person, I think what they did is like just have like this big document or whatever that they can load. And that's like the context you can load into ChatGPT or whatever to kind of give all your specifications. That's kind of sounds similar. Like this is like having the model kind of understands you, like in all your quirks and like how you like do at your software engineering or development or whatever, and kind of learns to follow those like standards or just ways of working.
Yeah. This is just for coding. Yeah. But yeah, any sort of job that you're going to be doing, you need to work out how to get a model to work for you. It's going to be the future of sort of work, isn't it? It's how can you leverage it most? Yeah. How do you? Where should you search for documentation, and where should what type of documentation should you read? Should you read just papers, or should you read blogs? How do you check to make sure that that's factual? If you're designing drugs, or I don't know, you've got some weird sort of, I don't know, business that's chemical sort of driven. How can you improve those processes? How do you get the agent to search the web for these unique sort of products that might help you, or unique potions or whatever? I think there's going to be loads of that kind of sort of agents that are going out on there. Then you've got to feed them the right context to make sure that they give you the right information. It's a whole new job area, isn't it?
Prompt engineer.
Say again?
Prompt engineer. I haven't heard that for a while, but
No. Well, the new one's context engineer, isn't it?
Is that what it is? Context engineer?
Yeah. I don't know what the next version is going to be, but yeah, context version.
Yeah, I suppose like you started as a prompt engineer. That's how you built up your context, and now like prompts are they're so like last year.
Well, it's going to be like all the stuff that you're building now. Do you know all these new pipelines that you're building? That's going to be the context, isn't it?
Yeah.
You're taking data from all these various different systems, either summarizing it or whatever. Before it would just be numerical information. Now it's all textual information as well. And how do you sort of make that into context that the LLMs can get the results it wants to get?
You kind of build like the Matt Allen model. Like how would he create these Azure Data Factory environments, and like what is all the steps that he did for deployment or whatever? Yeah.
How do you filter out all the information during those like pipelines, and just so you only got the relevant information?
Interesting. Okay.
What's the rest of your day look like?
I guess I'm going to be looking at CLIs.
Well,
I'm going to go
when you work out the CLIs, you can do the same for me and just show me what you found out about them. Because that would be interesting.
Say that again?
When you've gone through all the CLI stuff, you'll be able to show me everything you found out about them.
Yeah, I'll report back.
I'm the start of all that stuff, so yeah.
The Tour de France is on. It's day 2. That's probably what I'm gonna. That's a good reason for me to wake up early, because the European bike racing has started.
Oh, nice! I didn't realize it was on.
I wake up. Yeah, it started yesterday. Yeah, it's like Sunday. I have tomorrow off, so I don't know what I'm gonna do. So I gotta figure out. But yeah, CLIs. That's what I'm doing. I'm gonna build the next killer app and become a millionaire.
Retire.
Exactly, that's my whole goal, to get a pile of cash. What's a thumbs up?
I'm just having a look who's I don't know any of these cyclists for Tour de France. They're all changed and I've lost track of it.
Yeah. What Tom Pidcock is like a star from the UK. I think he's in the race. They actually have there's like in America there's like a post like show. It has Sir Bradley Wiggins. Have you heard of him?
Yeah. Bradley Wiggins, definitely, yeah.
I think Tom Pidcock is racing the Tour de France. Oh, he's not participating this year. Oh, that's sad. Yeah, there's a lot of Tadej Pogacar from Slovenia. Like, he's like the current star of like all cycling, basically. There's a couple Americans that are not too bad. Yeah, what are you up to?
Probably just housework the rest of the afternoon. Yeah, yeah, just looking around, seeing what's needs doing. There's loads of I've got to do the garden and all that kind of stuff. Trash. There's a bunch of admin. Yeah, it's just all crap, mate. I had my fun day yesterday.
I have like intentions to do that, but I'm like, they end up doing other stuff.
yeah, same here. But it's just built up so much. I need to get it done. Yeah, it's well, I've got loads to sort out. Not enough time.
Right. Well, I appreciate it. Thank you. I'll let you know. I'll get back to you on the CLI.
Yeah, I do. Yeah. All right, nice one.
Thank you. Bye.
Yeah, catch you later. Bye.